connects with these young people's aspirations, that focuses on governing effectively a competitive economy that lives in mortal threat from an unfair competitor across the strait, I think is a new dialogue. Taiwan started to move in that direction. I think that much more work needs to be done. You will not have a free and fair election in the sense that you seek, in that the opposition party will always have more resources. It also was unfair this time because of two other significant factors. Number one, the United States voted in your election, and that was unfair. It was also, in my view, unnecessary, unprofessional, improper, and the question I have for Taiwanese people is, will you make those who did that pay a price? Will you contribute to their campaigns in the United States? Will you support the institutions at which these people work? Or will you mobilize people to express how strongly you feel their actions were inappropriate and ill-advised? If you do nothing, then they get away with what they did to you. And they will have no disincentive next time around to just do the same thing again. So that's one area that you can perhaps make it so that people will be cautious about unfairly influencing the election next time. The other part that made it unfair is that China also got to vote in this election, and that will be almost impossible to change in the future. How did they vote? There are many ways that they voted. How many votes? Difficult to say, but there is no way that free people living in Taiwan who own major corporations would have said so many positive things about China and so many positive things about the cross-strait trade relationship if it were not for the strong suggestion given by the people who oversee their factories in the mainland. It's very obvious that the Chinese leadership, without having to have a statement from a senior government official, was able to help facilitate the travel of a lot of businessmen to come back and vote. But then in Taiwan, there was this unusual move to have the election close to the Lunar New Year so that students from relatively poor families would have to choose. Do they pay twice for their child to come home to vote, go back to school, and then come home for Lunar New Year? And so, on the one hand, China voted by facilitating the return of many businessmen. On the other hand, there were changes made in Taiwan that cut short the youth vote by making this financial challenge. These are things where I think people in Taiwan have to speak out, have to speak clearly. And they may not be able to stop China from doing what it did, and they may not be able to stop the United States from expressing a view, but you can at least give a market signal that when you do this, and I see it as something that's hostile to your interest, there should be a price. What's the price going to be?
So the KMT side carried a very strong crisis. That's why they're scared to lose that power. That's why they use all the means. Doesn't matter what means they use, they just want to keep their regime stay there.
Well, I don't doubt that that would be their motive. I mean, that would also describe the motive of almost any major political party. No political party wants to lose the chief executive position. But I also think that the challenge for the DPP is going to be coming up with a stronger campaign for why they should return to government. Less of a focus on why the KMT should be stopped. There's always a balance in political campaigns, whether it's the United States, anywhere. How much do you need to criticize the team you seek to replace? How much do you need to give people confidence that your potential leadership would be good for them? Ultimately, voters are going to want to know not what good are you going to do for me? Yes, you're going to kick them out, but how are you going to do something differently that improves my livelihood? Ultimately, in 2012, a lot of people were curious about the state of the economy. They did not hear enough specifics to convince them that if they voted for change, that they had confidence that it would be better for Taiwan's economy. And so I think that the Democratic Progressive Party, its candidates, need to reflect on why was that. We would have to do the same thing in our system. Should we win or lose a dialogue in an election? You have to think about why didn't that case get made. Ultimately, while there are these issues of fairness, there are these issues of intervention, I don't believe that focus on them will succeed in that mission in attracting those large new voting blocks that will be needed in order to finally achieve a majority. And so I have some sympathy with where you're coming from on it, but I think that there are some practical steps that may help make the problem more manageable.
I think we had the other reporters. Do you have any questions?
I just can't hear in a minute.
No problem.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I agree what you said on the night of KMT win that I attend a banquet. We drink champagne, and I talked to a lot of pro-KMT, the white collar or people. They agree that Taiwan didn't showing up. Those change can really, do their good.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they hesitate. They're not really sure that Taiwan. After, if you request the KMT or Mindjo, can you do it better? Can you give us something better? The signal not strong enough to attract them to vote.
It is a hard challenge.
Exactly.
It would be under almost any circumstances a hard challenge, because Tsai has not governed a particular part of Taiwan, and so she did not have the luxury of being able to say, I governed, say, Xinbei, for instance, and while I was governing Xinbei, we did these 4 things to change the broad direction of economic policy, and it created a certain number of jobs. And I would like to do for the rest of Taiwan what we were able to accomplish in Xinbei. That is one of the generic political strategies people can make to try to make a case for change or for their candidacy for president. She was representing a party, a movement, and so it's harder under those circumstances to be able to say not only what are your ideas and what would you do, but why should I believe you are capable of delivering? And we face these struggles in American politics all the time too. In my humble opinion, it's one reason why the country made an enormous mistake in electing Barack Obama. In 2008, we elected someone with no chief executive governing experience. And now we pay the economic price for an even worse budget crisis. Well, in 2012, we have to decide here, which direction are we going? And candidates in the Republican Party have to make the case for change. How much change? And who do you believe not only can criticize Barack Obama enough, but actually deliver something that is better? Why would you believe that they're capable of doing what they say? So this is a microcosm of the challenge for future Taiwan campaigns for the presidency. It's not that candidates in Taiwan must learn from America. It's that we all learn from each cycle we watch of this enormous competition. So I have hopes that the case will be made in our politics, but it's quite difficult. We have, our opponent in this national campaign in the Republican Party has a lot more money than the candidate I support. And in the general election, Barack Obama's people keep bragging about having nearly $1 billion for a campaign. Well, you think the KMT has a lot of money.
They're still the richest party in the world, around the world.
Maybe they can give us a donation.
Okay.
That would be like a slogan.
So, anyone have the...
Okay.
Okay. No, we went on.